So on this perspective, it is very important for us to use the technology into right manner to fix accountability of merit, performance, efficacy and efficiency, that these are the efficiencies which are required, and this only will be possible when we will have pre-defined standards, and pre-defined standards need more such prototyping and proof of concept adoption exercises for commercialization. So Shipra ji, before I go to Deepanshu to add where he left, I want to understand from you that the way we work, very practically, very candid, without any sugar coating or masking, is bringing a stakeholder, since there is no much support from the larger part of the government, bringing a stakeholder to understand that this is the need of the hour, and it's better to spend much on the R&D. I will not say only R&D, because it happens within the product development. Once product development is done, the developer or OEM is confident about it. But instead of R&D, I would say commercialization into pilots and prototype, they should come out with a model where they can take care of the cost which is required for their own product, which also happens to be a case in the certification, right? The testing you are supposed to be paying. Not only testing, but also it should not be only stopping at testing. It should also include two more aspects of it. One, financing of that particular product. And second, the last adoption, last user who is going to use it. And this ecosystem in silos, if it is funded, it is self-funded, I would say, their own product. It would not hit them much. It can be very easily brought out from marketing budget or a normal spending communication budget. Because for a startup, when they are coming in with new technology, for them it is, I believe it is much more important than doing an exhibition to have a prototype POC which is reaching to their end user, which has your role, then our role as a piloting agency, and then regulators' role and financial institution roles. So how do you look at it from your perspective?
No, very, very, pertinent point, Abhijeet ji, and that is the progression actually. So first, there is clarity, because even if we are bringing in corporates, and you're talking about a closed ecosystem, not an open ecosystem, where they have the confidence, okay, so they will invest, develop the prototype, and then use it ultimately, right? Even for them to have that confidence to be making that experiment, they need to have some clarity. Okay, so these are the standards that are going to be adopted. This is how the charging infra in two years down the line would look like. This is what the government is thinking, right? So some kind of clarity is required, number one. Number two, if there are, again, in terms of R&D, so I have, spoken to a number of corporates and PSUs, right? So they have their own concepts, and they are working on their own problem statements, which they face immediately, right? So their research team is, constantly firefighting, right? And working on problems, working on demands which currently they have, right? Nobody at that level sits and has the vision, okay, 5 years down the line, this is what we need to be. No matter what the chairman kind of envisions and would like the organization to move, but the harsh reality is this, right? So therefore, getting them interested at that level and getting the approval of the finance officer. So although the chairman may have the vision, but ultimately it's the CFO who has the say in terms of signing off the check. And that's where most of our discussions stall, right? So that needs to be mobilized. Honestly, I do not have the answer what will inspire that trust. I have been trying, over the course of last 1.5 years, I haven't been successful. So maybe, all of you might, share your ideas of what can crack the code.
My take on it, because you have left me on a place where a solution is definitely required. If they are not understanding the ecosystem potential in delivering their product to the end user, it is their ultimate target to reach. Maybe a CFO or marketing company or product company, their product department, their ultimate target is to put that product in people's pocket.
Correct.
Into their users or beneficiaries ecosystem. And this is not only limited to what they are doing, because if I look at many startups who just came into the ecosystem, they done their product R&D inside their company, they came out and they started going and competing with a large corporate in marketing. And they believe having stalls next to each other is making them actually in market next to each other. Their main concrete business, or anybody's who is entering with a promising, technically advanced and modern technology, which is serving the need of the hour, a community which they are targeting, is not having an exhibition next to each other, but having an ecosystem delivered along with the certification, the guidelines which are required, the financing agencies who has confidence on you, and the commercialization. And these does not come without a cost. It is the cost which you need to look at it in the perspective of the business which you can generate. And if you are focusing on generating business this way, soon you will see that the kind of work which you have. I'm fortunate to say that yesterday when we were opening a miniature of the NHEV station, our minister said that e-mobility is the new oil and is the new economy. And I'm glad to say that waiting list for two-wheeler, waiting list for four-wheeler, and this is becoming cheaper and more, pocket adjustable, and people are more competent to use it. It is only possible when the ecosystem delivery is seen into one perspective. It is not seen into silos. So the sooner we come out from our R&D, bracketed R&D, go to market, join players who are actually going to deliver that product. You cannot all the time alone deliver that product. And then start your prototyping. Not only technical pilots, certification and other things are important for industry, but also commercial pilots, which reaches to a certain segment, which brings a business to you, and then compare both of them. I'm sure that most of the time when we have seen our participants into piloting and prototyping, such incentive models have been loaded with orders, which they cannot, so I run after them that you have to provide me few more, ecosystem, few more estates, they want to participate into it, and they say, no, let's do it phase by phase because my capacity is only this. And most of them are new companies, new products, innovative, emerging technologies. Like Deepanshu, I want you to come in the conversation and take me forward if I'm wrong, that the material you quoted, the science which you said, is need of the hour for our nation. But when it comes to certification, when it comes to financing, we have been practically and realistically dealing with the need of the hour, that we need to set up a facility which can give us a prefabricated modules. And this can be used on many parts of the country to not only achieve 500-kilometer pilot, but also 5,000 kilometer with many such stations. So you see there is a role of such pilots coming, convincing the stakeholder, then financing institution, and then the end user who are going to use this, adopt it and own it as a Lotti PSUs or private entities. Over to you.
Actually, I want to start with today's topic, which is affordable green mobility incentives. The word affordable in this green technologies is quite absurd according to me. Why are we saying it affordable? Is it to the pocket or to the environment? Like when we say something has to be, like when I talk about this, as you were saying, this prefabricated modules is a new technology, and this zero cement concrete is a new technology. And then everyone asks me, is it affordable? Okay, in the current scenario, when you compare it to the regular market product, it's slightly expensive in terms of money-wise. But if you compare it to the environmental cost, it's 80 to 90% cheaper. So what is the true cost? What is the true affordability? We have to really consider that, like for the pocket or the environment. So that is one thing. And then, regarding the charging stations, as you were saying, I'm very glad that these charging stations would offer as a platform for these new technologies to be implemented. And these, as you said in the beginning, infrastructures of tomorrow, these will not only create awareness for the general public about these sustainable and new age technologies, but also create a sense of care for the environment for the end users. Like they would consider these infrastructures, okay, the government is doing many initiatives to bring in these sustainable technologies. So they would be more willing to use these technologies in their personal use.
But it is not possible until and unless you put values into right boxes. That this is the cost of infrastructure, this is the cost which is being saved, this is the kind of ecosystem which as a nation we wish to deliver. So Shipra ji, closing remark now.
Sorry, I have to interrupt just a second. In this regard, I have to say, like when electric vehicles were launched in the beginning, they were very expensive than the traditional vehicles. Then the government was subsidizing the vehicles by removing the road tax, registration tax, and giving discounts. So initially it was also not affordable, but they were made affordable because the government knew it was the need of the hour. Just like this, we can also treat other technologies which are the need of the hour by subsidizing, by reducing the tax, or there are many other things. In that way, they can incorporate it.
So closing remark from you.
So I think, just on that note, what I feel is that technology, when it's newly developed, it's expensive, but then if we allow it to scale, the per unit cost comes down and then it becomes competitive. So although, green and environment friendly is on everybody's mind, but ultimately people will only sign the check when it's commercially viable, right? And we should, as a nation, we should create that enabling environment where researchers and innovators and startups have that kind of comfort factor that they're allowed to breathe and they're allowed to be incubated to a level where they can start providing affordable and commercial solutions, right? So for that, we are trying to tap into CSR network also. A lot of sustainability related projects are being funded by CSR arms of corporates. And according to a recent amendment to the CSR rules, now even R&D qualifies for CSR. So, still early days, but we are trying to mobilize that pool, at least, if it doesn't fit the, corporate and commercially viable box, at least the CSR components should come forward and support technologies like these in the early stages till the time they become commercially viable.
Thank you so much. It's actually very significant information which you have given, that R&D is being covered under CSR is actually need not only for the nation, but also, since I put in values in the boxes, that it is important for the industry also to bring such ecosystem in existence, which gives result as model RFP, new standards to match with, and also a commercial ecosystem that if something which was not in the use, but now it is coming, the landing has to be made smooth. So your closing remark to it.
I think these are important points. So I remember one case. We are a technology company, so many of the new innovations, either by organic or inorganic route, we have acquired those companies or those technologies. So one of the technology India adopted way back in 2007 was a green switchgear. Green switchgear means there is no pollutant, no pressure inside the product. This means it will never fail, or it is a maintenance-free product. So since 2007, 14 years, Mumbai has seen 3 floods. And this product could sustain all the 3 floods. You just get out of the flood, bring the muck out, and you are back into the business. So my customer is now looking at having a second batch of the product. And this is what we have displayed for renewables, because when we look at around us, any of the smart city or any of our current infrastructure, we are using a switchgear which is filled with very, very, I would say, pollutant gas, sulfur hexafluoride, which is 32,500 times more pollutant than carbon dioxide. But it is being used because there is no alternate. Now, since there are alternates available, Government of India is now looking at using those technologies, and EMA is one of the pusher, and also CEA is now accepting that we should make changes to the tenders for the utilities. At least 20% should be allowed, or 20% should be pushed as a non-SF6 product. so that slowly we come out of it, the pollutants which are around us, at the same time the cost of the product become viable. As everyone talks about, new technology cost quite high because of the components, because of the low production unit, and also the skill set. But it's all maintenance free. The ROI comes quick. 14 years I have not got a single spares order from that customer in Mumbai. And this is the biggest ROI, and because of which now we are in discussion with more and more customers in railways, in metros, in utilities, and they are happy to work on that technology.
So, on that note, we have reached to the closing of this wonderful session. At my right, somebody who also makes very good fuse, I can say, very reliable and stable. And we as a country is struggling between transition from a fossil fuel vehicle to electric vehicle with incidences like fire, where we do not know the accountability, whether it was a fault from battery, whether it was a fault from connector, or whether it was a fault from fuse or cable. And we conduct investigation which run for next 6 months, 8 months. And when result comes in, till the time result comes in, stakeholder keeps on blaming each other. Sometimes it looks like it is an administrative failure, sometimes technical failure, sometimes it looks like an regulatory failure. Standards are not up to that mark. On my left, I had someone very young who's coming up with a need of the hour product material, construction material, which would change the carbon footprint of the construction industry, which contributes as a major contributor in the ecosystem, but has to struggle from same regulations, certification, thought, confidence, and then second phase, financing, adoption, and furthermore. On my immediate left, we had Shipra ji, who very beautifully outlined the requirement and the current ecosystem is not in itself sufficient to support the transition. What kind of transition is all known to all of you. We are talking about a digital economy, an economy where we have reached at this stage of time is not only a product-based economy, agricultural economy, or a service economy, but it is going to become a technical or economy of ecosystems. When it comes to deliver an ecosystem, the takeaway from today's session is whom to count upon, whom to look forward, to the government or to the market which is not ready to fund you or adopt you until and unless you come through different filters. It is our need to do our R&D in a very honest state of mind and accountability inside our premises as a product developer or technology or service developer, and then enter with trust and with a unified thought process to deliver something to the nation and conduct more proof of concept, more pilots, rather than doing marketing, which anyway bring you in the picture, and deliver things which are very important like standards, and standards would require physical POC prototypings. Once you have gone through that, any company would at least have certain amount of financing capabilities, financing value, where banks, NBFCs, CSR, they can come in. And that's not end. The last is the adoption. So people who wish to adopt a good fuse or a good construction material, they would be more than happy to reach out to you depending on the metal which you have proven in that POC and pilot. So I'm signing off from this. Thank you so much to my co-panelists for being such a valuable panel and bringing this crucial discussion to our viewers and audiences. Thank you, Rajesh ji. Thank you, Shipra ji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.